I slammed the heavy oak door of the family estate's library shut behind me, the echo bouncing off the leather-bound books like a gunshot in a confessional. My own blood, my brother Jake, my stepmother Evelyn, and that pack of lawyers they'd hired like attack dogs had just voted unanimously to erase me from the will, their voices dripping with the kind of smug righteousness that only old East Coast money can muster. Naomi's instability makes her a liability, Jake had sneered, his Rolex glinting under the chandelier as if it were a badge of his untouchable throne. But they had no clue. 6 months ago, while they were busy toasting their golden boy at galas in the Hamptons, I'd quietly engineered the greatest heist of all. The entire Rutherford fortune was mine, locked in irrevocable trusts they'd never see coming. It started 15 years back, in the sticky summer of '09, when I was 22 and fresh out of Yale with a business degree that felt like a ticket to the American dream. Our family, the Rutherfords, wasn't just wealthy, we were the kind of loaded that built half of Midtown and whispered in the ears of senators.
Dad.
Harlan Rutherford ran Rutherford Enterprises like a feudal lord, turning steel mills into tech conglomerates overnight. Jake, my half-brother from Dad's first marriage, was the heir apparent, charming, ruthless, with a jawline that could sell toothpaste to sharks. I was the afterthought, the daughter from marriage number 2, always scrambling for scraps of approval. That summer, Jake came to me with sweat beading on his forehead, his Ferrari idling outside our Greenwich estate like a getaway car.
Nay.
I fucked up, he'd said, voice cracking in a way I'd never heard. He'd been cooking the books, siphoning off millions from a subsidiary to fund his poker habit in Atlantic City. Not chump change. We're talking the kind of embezzlement that could have tanked the company and sent him to federal prison for decades. Dad was already sick, pancreatic cancer gnawing at him like a bad investment, and the board was sniffing around irregularities. Jake begged me to take the fall. You're clean?
Nay.
They'll go easy on you. Say it was a junior accountant error.
Pin it on some ghost.
I'll make it right. I'll get you out. Set you up for life. I should have said no.
God.
I should have walked away and let the chips fall where his lying ass landed. But Jake was the brother who taught me to ride a bike on the lawns of Saratoga, the one who'd covered for me when I snuck out to that underground rave in Brooklyn.
And Dad.
Dad was fading, hooked to machines in Sloan Kettering, murmuring about legacy in his morphine haze. If the scandal broke, it'd kill him faster than the chemo. So I did it. I forged the signatures, backdated the ledgers, and when the feds came knocking, I confessed to it all in a fluorescent-lit interrogation room that smelled like stale coffee and regret. It was me, I told them, my voice steady as I watched Jake's shadow slip out the back door of the precinct. 20 months in Alderson Federal. Minimum security but maximum isolation, women in for tax evasion and insider trading. All of us ghosts of our former selves. Trading stories of lost husbands and shattered trust. Out on good behavior, I emerged into a world that had moved on without me. Jake was CEO now, married to some socialite named Lila who'd birthed twin trust fund terrors. Evelyn, the step-monster who'd clawed her way into Dad's bed after Mom's tragic overdose, which everyone knew was just Evelyn's doing. A quiet push down those marble stairs had her talons in the family foundation. They sent me a check for 50 grand, a pittance, with a note from Jake. Start fresh.
Sis.
We love you.
Love.
That word tasted like battery acid. But I didn't start fresh. I started smart. Prison had been my MBA in survival, learning the art of the long con from inmates who'd hustled Wall Street before the crash. Back in New York, crashing on a cousin's couch in Astoria, I scraped together a war chest, freelance consulting gigs for startups, ghostwriting white papers on blockchain ethics. Irony, right? The girl who went down for fraud now preaching transparency. But every dollar went into a shell company, Nimbus Holdings, buried under layers of Delaware LLCs so opaque even the IRS would need a periscope. The breakthrough came last fall, at a charity auction in Soho where the elite pretend to care about orphans while eyeing each other's watches. I bumped into Marcus Hale, Dad's old consigliere, the lawyer who'd drawn up the original estate docs. Half in the bag on McAllen, he let slip the vulnerability, a forgotten codicil from '95, predating Evelyn's prenup, that gave controlling interest to issue of the marriage in case of dissolution. Issue meaning kids. And buried in the fine print, a clause allowing any heir to repurchase shares at book value if the company faced material misrepresentation. Jake's embezzlement, my embezzlement. On paper, qualified. With a quiet loan from a venture capitalist I'd charmed at a TEDx talk, lies about my redemption arc work wonders. I bought in, one share at a time, through proxies, until Nimbus owned 51%. The estate, the penthouse on Fifth, the vineyard in Napa, it all funneled back through a web of trusts. By spring, it was done. They thought I was scraping by in Queens. I was the spider in the center of their web.
Now,
here I was, summoned to this family reconciliation at the estate, a sprawling Tudor in Bedford Hills that Dad had called our fortress. The library reeked of pipe tobacco and entitlement, the air thick with the hum of the AC fighting a late August heat wave. Jake sat at the head, Evelyn to his right like a porcelain vulture, and 3 attorneys from Cravath, for Christ's sake, flanked them with stacks of paper that might as well have been my execution warrant. Naomi, Jake began, his voice all boardroom baritone. We appreciate you coming. This isn't easy. He slid a folder across the table, the kind with gold-embossed seals. Inside, amendments to the will, excising me entirely.
your
Indiscretion with the funds back then left scars. The board, hell. The family needs stability. You're volatile.
nay,
Unpredictable. Volatile. The word hit like a slap. I'd taken the bullet for him, rotted in that cage while he climbed the ladder on my bones. Evelyn chimed in, her Botox smile not reaching her eyes. Darling, it's for the best. Think of the children. Her children, my half-siblings, spoiled brats who'd never dirted their hands. One lawyer cleared his throat. The vote is unanimous. You're out. I let the silence stretch, watching Jake's Adam's apple bob as he anticipated tears or pleas. Instead, I laughed. A low, genuine chuckle that made Evelyn's pearls clench. Unanimous.
huh,
That's cute. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and projected onto the wall. A digital ledger. Lines of code scrolling like the Matrix. Nimbus Holdings stamped bold at the top. See that? That's me owning 51% of Rutherford Enterprises. The estate?
mine,
The shares you thought were locked in family trusts? Repurchased under the '95 codicil. You know, the one Marcus blabbed about at that auction. Jake's face drained of color. His fork, wait.
no,
He had a Montblanc pen in hand, clattering to the table. What the fuck is this? Some hacker bullshit. Not bullshit. Brother. Precision. I leaned forward, the room's tension coiling like a spring. I've been patient. 6 months of silence while you played king. But today,
Today.
you tried to bury me again.
So now.
I dig you up. Evelyn's hand fluttered to her throat. This is extortion. We'll sue. See yourselves. I cut in. The paperwork's ironclad. Your lawyers drew half of it. And Jake, that embezzlement you pinned on me? I kept the originals. Feds would love a sequel. The air crackled, the storm outside mirroring the one brewing in their eyes. Jake lunged across the table. But I was already moving, heart pounding with the thrill of the flip. Revenge wasn't a dish, it was a detonation. And I'd just lit the fuse. But as the first shouts erupted, a sliver of doubt wormed in. Had I become the monster they always said I was? Or was this justice? Served American style. Cutthroat. Clever. And just controversial enough to make the headlines? The library dissolved into chaos faster than a Wall Street flash crash. Jake's face twisted from shock to rage, veins bulging in his neck like overpressured pipes. You bitch, he snarled, knocking over a crystal decanter that shattered on the Persian rug, amber scotch pooling like blood money. Evelyn shrieked, clutching her phone to call security. Our security. Technically, but now on my peril since the estate transfer hit the servers at dawn. The lawyers, those Ivy League drones, fumbled for their briefcases, one muttering about preliminary injunctions, as if legalese could unring this bell. I stood my ground, the projector humming its victory lap on the wall. Call them off, Evelyn. Or watch your alimony evaporate. She froze, her manicured nails hovering over the screen. Good. Fear was the great equalizer in rooms like this. Fear of losing the lifestyle, the status, the illusion of control that kept the Rutherford names sparkling in Forbes lists. Jake rounded the table, close enough that I could smell his cologne, the same Creed Aventus he'd worn to my sentencing hearing, sitting in the back row like a ghost of brotherly love.
How?
How the hell did you pull this? His whisper was venomous, eyes darting as if betrayal had a face he could punch. I met his gaze, unflinching. Same way you did me.
Jake.
Quiet moves. While you were schmoozing donors at the Met Gala, I was in a Queen's walk-up, coding trusts that'd make Madoff blush. Remember Aunt Lydia's shares? The ones she lost in that nursing home scam? I tracked them down. Bought M for pennies. Then the offshore accounts Dad hid from the IRS in the 80s, yeah. I found those too. Your empire was built on sand, Big Brother. I just brought the tide. He grabbed my arm, fingers digging in like he could squeeze the truth out. You think you're smart? This family survived worse, depressions, divorces, Dad's affairs. We'll fight you in court, drag your prison stint through the tabloids. Felon daughter steals legacy. How's that for a headline? Let go, I said softly, twisting free with a move I'd learned from a self-defense class in the yard at Alderson. He staggered back, surprise flickering. Fight all you want. But the codicil's bulletproof. Material misrepresentation. That's your fraud.
Jake.
I just invoked it. And the board? Half of them are my proxies now. Votes tomorrow. Guess who walks in as chairwoman? Evelyn found her voice, shrill as a siren. Harlan would roll in his grave. You? A convict? At the helm? It's obscene. She paced, heels clicking like castanets in a flamenco of fury. Obscene. Coming from the woman who'd OD'd my mom on fentanyl-laced wine to clear the path for her throne. I'd pieced it together years later. From hushed nurse testimonies and a toxicology report Dad buried deeper than his regrets. But proof? Elusive as a shadow. Until now. I turned to her. Voice ice. Obscene? Like pushing a rival down the stairs and calling it an accident? Or gaslighting Dad into that codicil rewrite, thinking it'd lock me out forever. Her eyes widened, busted. Yeah.
I know.
The maid saw you. Evelyn. Maria Gonzalez. The one you deported to silence her. She's in Jersey now. With a green card I sponsored. Testifies in family court. And poof, your prenup's toilet paper. The room went tomb silent, save for the rain hammering the windows like impatient creditors. Jake's shoulders slumped. The golden boy cracked. For a split second, I saw the brother again, the scared kid from that summer night, promising the moon. But promises are cheap in America, where loyalty's just another commodity. Get out, he muttered finally, sinking into Dad's old armchair, the one with the faint cigar burn from '98. All of you. Meeting's over. The lawyers bolted like rats from a flood. Evelyn shot me a look that could curdle cream, hatred, yes, but laced with something sharper, fear of the fall. She swept out, trailing perfume and plots. Alone with Jake. The air thickened, brother against sister in the Empire's heart. Why now? Nay, he asked, voice raw. After all this time, why burn it down? I perched on the table's edge, the wood cool under my palms. Because you never stopped. The check? A bribe to keep quiet. The reconciliation? A trap to sign away my last scraps. You built your life on my silence.
Jake.
But silence has a shelf life. He rubbed his temples, the weight of it crashing. I was scared. Dad was dying. The company teetering. If I'd gone down, a bitter laugh. You were always the strong one. I figured you'd bounce back. Strong enough to eat shit for you. I stood, smoothing my blouse, J.Crew, on sale, but it fit like armor. But here's the deal. I don't want it burned. I want it fixed. Step down as CEO. Confess your part in the fraud to the board. We split the estate fair, me, you, even Evelyn's cut, minus her skeletons. Or I pull the thread, and it all unravels. Your kids in private school?
Gone.
Lila's Hamptons weekends? Foreclosure. His eyes searched mine, pleading. And if I fight, then the headlines write themselves. Rutherford heirs felony fraud exposed by sister. DOJ they'll feast. You'll do real time. Not some country club sentence. He nodded slowly, the fight leaching out. 24 hours. I need to think. Make it 12. I walked to the door, pausing for the kill shot. And Jake, say hi to Lila. Tell her the vineyard's mine now. No more rose brunches. Outside. The estate's grounds stretched under bruised skies. The Hudson River a silver slash in the distance. I slipped into my rental, a beat-up Civic that screamed harmless, and drove the winding drive, pulse racing. Victory tasted like adrenaline and ash. But as the gates clanged shut behind me, my phone buzzed, an unknown number. A text. You think you won?
Check your email. E.
Heart sinking. I pulled over at a diner off the Taconic. Fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees. The email, attachments, grainy photos.
Me.
In Alderson, laughing with a cellmate named Rita, known for running meth from the laundry. Forged letters. implying I'd orchestrated hits on witnesses. And worse, a video, timestamped last week, of me meeting Marcus Hale, edited to look like a payoff shakedown. Evelyn. The Viper strikes. She'd been playing her own game, digging dirt while I wove my web. Controversial? Hell. This was nuclear, enough to paint me as the villain. Forced the board to oust me before I even sat down. My hands shook as I forwarded it to my own lawyer, a pitbull from Brooklyn who'd cut her teeth on mob cases. Counterstrike, I typed. But deep down, the doubt gnawed. Was this revenge? Or just trading one cage for another? By midnight, back in my Astoria apartment, cramped, but mine, I paced the linoleum, rain pattering the fire escape like Morse code for regret. Jake called at 2 a.m., voice slurry with bourbon. It's on. Board meeting at 9.
But nay.
Evelyn's got leverage. On all of us. Leverage. The word hung, promising a twist sharper than any knife. As dawn bled gray over the East River, I suited up, ready for war. Little did I know, the real battle was just the opening act in a family opera of lies, where heroes and villains swapped masks faster than a Times Square pickpocket. The boardroom at Rutherford Tower smelled like fresh coffee and frayed nerves, the kind that precedes a coup. Midtown Manhattan thrummed below, oblivious to the drama unfolding 30 floors up, honking taxis, steam from halal carts, the pulse of a city that chewed up dreamers and spat out hustlers. I arrived early, heels clicking on marble like a countdown, my reflection in the glass walls showing a woman who'd traded vulnerability for velocity. Black sheath dress, hair pulled into a no bullshit chignon, Naomi Rutherford. Version 2.0. The Reckoning. The board trickled in, venture capitalists with Shark Tank egos. Legacy execs nursing hangovers from last night's networking at Le Bernardin.
Jake slunk in last.
Eyes bloodshot.
Lit la S absence à screaming void.
No Evelyn. She'd sent a proxy. Some weasel from her salon empire. At 9 sharp, the chair, still Jake's puppet, called order. Item 1. CEO transition. I stood. Projector primed. Before we vote. Context. Slides flew. The codicil. Repurchase logs. Jake's embezzlement trail laid bare like a dissected frog. Gasps rippled. Old money hates surprises, especially ones that smell like jailbait. I've secured majority control. I continued, voice steady as the Hudson. Jake steps down. I assume the role. With full transparency audit, murmurs swelled to a roar. One silver-haired fossil, Uncle Ted from the Philly plant, slammed his fist. This is a goddamn ambush. Naomi, you served time. For a crime I didn't commit. I interjected, clicking to the next slide. Jake's confession email. Timestamped 3 a.m. Read it. Your CEO framed his sister to save his skin. Jake rose, pale as a ghost in his bespoke suit. It's true. I panicked. Naomi took the heat. She deserves this. His voice cracked. Performance art? Or genuine fracture? The board shifted, eyes darting like investors scenting blood. Then Evelyn's proxy stood,
smirking.
Objection. Yes. Rutherford's not clean. He cued his tablet. The photos. The video. Me shaking down Marcus. Rita's mugshot photoshopped beside mine. Extortion.
Forgery.
She's unfit. Hell.
Criminal.
The room erupted. Lies. I shouted. But it drowned in the din. Uncle Ted. Out. Security. A boarder from Silicon Valley. Some VC bro named Trent. Leaned in. This smells like fraud squared. We're toxic if she stays. My world tilted. Evelyn's play, brilliant. Vicious. She'd flipped the script, turning my revenge into my noose. Jake caught my eye, mouthing sorry, but his hand steadied on the table, knighting himself the reluctant hero. The vote, 8-3 against me. Kicked out. Again. Irony's a cruel bitch. I stormed the lobby, rain-slick streets beckoning like an ex-lover's call. But at the elevator, Jake cornered me, raincoat flapping.
Wait.
It's not over. Save it, I spat, jabbing the button. You played me. Again. No. He grabbed my wrist, gentle this time. Evelyn came to me at dawn. Offered a deal. Back her proxy. Split the scraps. And she buries the dirt. I said yes. To buy time.
Time.
For what? My laugh was hollow. You're both snakes. Listen. He pulled a USB from his pocket, rain dotting his hair. Her leverage? Half on you, half on her. That video? Doctored. But the photos? Maria's real. She saw the stairs. But Evelyn recorded me, last year, confessing the fraud to her in bed. Leverage on leverage. I snatched the drive. What's this? Her server keys. Hacked by a guy I know from Princeton, ethical.
Swear.
Everything. The OD cover-up. Payoffs to Maria's family. Even Jake Jr.'s coke bust she hushed. We go public together. Full exposure. Together? The elevator dinged. Empty. We stepped in, the descent mirroring my gut.
Why?
After everything? Because you're right. I built on your bones. And Dad. He knew.
Nay.
About the stairs. The fraud.
His will. It was a test.
The codicil, to see who'd fight for it clean. The doors opened to the storm-lashed plaza. Umbrellas bloomed like black flowers. Commuters hustling to subways that never run on time. So what? We nuke it all? He nodded, water sluicing his face. Or walk. But walking's what got us here. I hesitated, the drive burning in my palm. Controversial choice. Torch the empire. Free the ghosts. But orphan the innocents, employees. The Foundation's kids. Or compromise. Let Evelyn slither on. Preserving the facade. No heroes here. Just survivors picking shrapnel from the blast. We hit the street, dodging puddles. My phone buzzed, Evelyn. Resign quietly, or the world sees your cell block glamour shots. I showed Jake. He grinned. Feral. Send her the link. I did a live feed. Anonymous server dumping files to WikiLeaks.
Kenzie.
The Journal. Evelyn's empire crumbling in real time, headlines birthing by the minute. Rutherford widow linked to manslaughter cover-up. Her proxy called. Frantic. Retract. We negotiate. Too late. The board reconvened via Zoom as Jake and I watched from a dive bar in Hell's Kitchen. Burgers steaming under neon. Votes flipped. Trent, the VC, jumped ship first. By noon, I was chair. Jake, EVP demoted, but breathing.
But the twist?
As Evelyn's arrest hit CNN, handcuffs in her Park Avenue foyer. Pearls Askew, Jake slid a folder across the scarred formica. Dad's real will. Unsealed. Not a test. A confession. He'd known about the stairs, covered for Evelyn to protect the brand. And the fraud? He'd orchestrated it himself, using Jake as proxy, me as shield. Legacy at any cost, the note read. We'd all been pawns. I stared at the scrawl. The bar's jukebox crooning Springsteen, Born to Run. Or just run. Jake raised his beer. To family, to ghosts, I countered.
Clinking.
Victory?
Pyrrhic.
The empire stood. But scarred, lawsuits loomed. Shares tanked 20%. I was queen. But the crown weighed like regret. Had I avenged? Or just perpetuated the cycle? Readers, hell, voters in this morality play would argue, was exposing the wrought justice. Or just trading villains.
Me.
The betrayed turned betrayer, Jake. Reformed or recidivist, Evelyn. Monster or mere mimic of Harlan sins. Months later, Napa Vineyard under starlit skies. I poured rose, mine now, for Jake and the kids. Lila had bolted, but he seemed lighter, coaching Little League in Westchester. You saved us.
Nay, he said.
Or damned us. I thought, watching fireflies dance. The American dream, revenge wrapped in redemption. Controversial as a Second Amendment debate. No tidy bows. Just the tension of what-ifs. And in the quiet, I wondered if Dad watched, smiling his Machiavellian smile. Legacy indeed.